Awakening of the Forgotten. The vast expanse of space remained undisturbed, a canvas of distant stars and swirling nebulae. In a remote sector of the Orion Arm, long forgotten by the bustling civilizations that now dominated the galaxy, a massive object drifted silently. Its hull, once gleaming with the pride of human engineering, now bore the scars of centuries adrift in the cosmic void. This was the UES Polaris, humanity's crowning achievement in space warfare. A supercarrier designed to be the vanguard of Earth's defense fleet. But the Polaris had never fulfilled its intended purpose. Instead, it had become a tomb, preserving the last remnants of a civilization that the galaxy believed extinct. Deep within the ship's hibernation bay, a series of lights flickered to life. A low hum resonated through the empty corridors as ancient systems slowly whirred into action. In cryopods lining the walls, the first signs of life in centuries began to stir. Captain Alina Reyes gasped as her eyes snapped open, her mind reeling from the disorientation of prolonged stasis. As the cryopod's glass cover slid away, she stumbled out, her muscles weak from disuse. Around her, other pods were opening, disgorging confused and groggy crew members. "Status report," Reyes croaked, her voice hoarse from centuries of silence. She stumbled to a nearby console, her fingers fumbling with unfamiliar controls. A holographic display flickered to life, revealing the artificial intelligence that served as the ship's central computer. "Greetings, Captain Reyes," the AI's calm voice echoed through the chamber. "I am ARIA, the Polaris's artificial reasoning and information assistant. It has been 732 years since the ship entered emergency stasis protocol." Reyes felt her knees weaken. 7 centuries. It seemed impossible. "Araya, what happened? Why were we awakened?" The AI's holographic form shifted, displaying a star chart. "The Polaris has drifted into a sector of space that matches the parameters for potential colonization. As per protocol, the crew has been revived to assess the situation." As more of the crew regained consciousness, the initial shock gave way to a flurry of activity. Chief Engineer Zara Chen rushed to the engine room, her team frantically working to bring the ship's systems back online. In the medical bay, Dr. Elias Okafor tended to crew members suffering from the after-effects of long-term stasis. On the bridge, Captain Reyes stood before the main view screen, her eyes scanning the unfamiliar star patterns. Commander Jack Harper, her second-in-command, joined her, his face etched with concern. "Alina," Harper said softly, using her first name in the privacy of the moment, "what do we do now? Earth, our families, everyone we knew is long gone." Reyes squared her shoulders, pushing down the wave of grief threatening to overwhelm her. "We do what we were trained to do, Jack. We explore, we adapt, and we survive. Humanity may be gone from Earth, but it lives on through us." As if in response to her words, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. Aria's voice cut through the chaos. "Captain, multiple unidentified vessels approaching at high speed. Their configurations do not match any known human designs." Reyes's eyes widened. "First contact," she breathed. Then, snapping into action, she barked out orders. "Battle stations, bring all defensive systems online. Prepare for possible hostile engagement." The bridge erupted into a flurry of activity as crew members rushed to their posts. The main view screen flickered, revealing a formation of sleek, otherworldly ships rapidly closing in on the Polaris. "Incoming transmission," the communications officer announced, her voice tinged with a mix of fear and excitement. Reyes nodded, her heart pounding. "Put it through." The view screen shifted, revealing a being unlike anything the crew had ever seen. Its skin was a pale blue, with large, multifaceted eyes that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. When it spoke, its voice was a melodic trill that the ship's translators struggled to interpret. "Unknown vessel, you have entered restricted Galactic Coalition space. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will be met with force." Reyes felt a chill run down her spine. They had awoken to a galaxy that had moved on without them, a galaxy where humanity was nothing more than a long-forgotten memory. But as she looked around at her crew, the last remnants of the human race, she knew they couldn't simply surrender. "This is Captain Elena Reyes of the United Earth ship Polaris," she responded, her voice steady despite the turmoil in her heart. "We are not hostile, but we will defend ourselves if threatened. We request peaceful dialogue to understand the current galactic situation." There was a pause, and for a moment, Reyes feared the alien ships would open fire. Then the alien spoke again, its tone a mixture of surprise and suspicion. "Impossible. The human species has been extinct for over 700 years. Identify yourselves truthfully or face immediate destruction." Reyes exchanged glances with Harper. The situation was deteriorating rapidly. They were outnumbered in unknown territory and facing a civilization that believed their entire species was extinct. Reyes whispered, "What's our combat readiness?" The AI's voice was low, meant only for the captain's ears. "All systems are operational, Captain, but power levels are at 62% due to the long dormancy. Our technology appears to be more advanced than the approaching vessels, but we are outnumbered 5-1. Reyes nodded, her mind racing. They couldn't fight their way out, not against these odds, and with so many unknowns. But they couldn't surrender either. The fate of humanity rested on their shoulders. "Open a channel to all approaching ships," Reyes commanded. As the communication officer complied, she took a deep breath, knowing her next words could determine the future of the human race. "This is Captain Elena Reyes of the UES Polaris. We are indeed human, awakened from stasis after centuries adrift. We come in peace and seek to understand what has transpired in our absence. To prove our identity and our peaceful intentions, we are willing to allow a small delegation aboard our vessel for diplomatic talks. However," he warned, "the Polaris is fully armed and capable of defending itself. Any hostile action will be met with equivalent force." As the message was transmitted, the bridge fell silent. The crew held their breath, watching the alien ships on the view screen. The next few moments would determine whether humanity would find a place in this new galaxy, or if the Polaris would become the final battleground of a long-forgotten species. The alien ships held their position, their weapons trained on the Polaris. Seconds stretched into minutes as the crew waited for a response. Finally, the alien leader's face reappeared on the screen. "Your claim is unprecedented," the alien said, its multifaceted eyes studying Reyes intently. "If true, it would rewrite our understanding of galactic history. We will accept your offer of diplomatic talks. Prepare to receive a delegation. But be warned, any deception or hostile action will result in your immediate destruction." As the transmission ended, Reyes let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. They had bought themselves time, but the real challenge was just beginning. "Prepare a reception area in the main hangar," she ordered. "Full honor guard, but I want security teams on standby. Dr. Okafor, prepare to receive potentially non-humanoid visitors. Commander Harper, you're with me." As the crew rushed to comply, Reyes allowed herself a moment of reflection. They had slept through centuries, awakening to a galaxy that had forgotten them. Now they stood at the precipice of a new era for humanity. Whatever came next, Reyes knew one thing for certain. The galaxy was about to remember why humanity had once been a force to be reckoned with. First contact and conflict. The cavernous main hangar of the UES Polaris hummed with nervous energy as Captain Elena Reyes and her senior staff awaited the arrival of the alien delegation. The massive bay doors slowly parted, revealing the star-studded expanse of space beyond. A sleek, iridescent shuttle glided into the hangar, its design unlike anything the human crew had ever seen. As the shuttle touched down, Reyes straightened her uniform, acutely aware that she was about to become the first human in over 7 centuries to engage in diplomatic relations with an alien species. Beside her, Commander Harper's hand hovered near his sidearm, ready for any potential threat. The shuttle's hatch hissed open, and 3 alien figures emerged. The leader, taller than the others, had the same pale blue skin and multifaceted eyes they had seen on the view screen. Its companions were equally alien, one with 4 arms and shimmering, scale-like skin, the other shorter and stockier, with what appeared to be a carapace. "Welcome aboard the Polaris," Reyes said, stepping forward. "I am Captain Elena Reyes." The lead alien inclined its head in what seemed to be a gesture of acknowledgement. "I am High Counselor Zaxxalian of the Galactic Coalition. With me are Ambassador Cretel of the Vespidian Hive and Security Chief Dorn of the Taurian Concordat." As they spoke, Dr. Okafor discreetly scanned the aliens with a medical tricorder, while Engineer Chen's eyes darted between the visitors and their shuttle, her mind no doubt racing with questions about their technology. "We have much to discuss," Zaxxalian continued, its multifaceted eyes scanning the hangar and the assembled crew. "Your appearance has caused quite a stir in Coalition space. Many believe this to be an elaborate hoax or a trap laid by our enemies." Reyes nodded, understanding the alien's skepticism. "We're as surprised by this situation as you are, Counselor. We entered stasis as a last resort when our homeworld faced an extinction-level threat. We had no idea we would awaken to a galaxy that had moved on without us." As they moved to a prepared conference room, Reyes noticed the aliens' reactions to the ship's interior. Their eyes widened at certain technologies, and they exchanged meaningful glances that set her on edge. Once seated, Zaxxalian leaned forward, its voice taking on a more serious tone. "Captain Reyes, if you are indeed human, as you claim, then your very existence poses a significant problem for the Coalition." Harper tensed beside her, but Reyes kept her composure. "How so, Counselor?" "The official history of our galaxy records that the human species destroyed itself in a cataclysmic war over 700 years ago," Zaxxalian explained. "Your homeworld, Earth, is now a barren, radioactive wasteland. The few human colonies that survived were eventually absorbed into the Coalition, or dealt with." A chill ran down Reyes's spine. "Dealt with." The 4-armed Vespidian, Cretel, chittered softly before speaking. "Humans were considered too dangerous to be allowed to rebuild. Their technology, their aggression, their rapid expansion. Many species saw them as a threat to galactic stability." Reyes felt her blood run cold. "Are you saying that the Coalition systematically wiped out the remnants of our species?" The stocky Taurian, Dorn, snorted. "It was necessary. Humans were unpredictable, always pushing boundaries, upsetting the balance of power. The galaxy is more stable without them." Anger flared in Reyes's chest, but she forced it down. Now was not the time for rash actions. "And now, what does the Coalition intend to do with us?" Zaxxalian's eyes seemed to darken. "That is yet to be decided. Your ship's technology appears to be surprisingly advanced. Some factions within the Coalition will see you as a threat to be eliminated. Others will want to study you, to learn your secrets." "We are not lab rats," Harper interjected, his voice tight with barely controlled anger. "And we won't stand by while you decide our fate." The tension in the room ratcheted up several notches. Security Chief Dorn's hand moved to a weapon at its side, and Harper mirrored the action. "Gentlemen," Reyes said sharply, her voice cutting through the tension, "let's not escalate this situation unnecessarily." She turned back to Zaxxalian. "Counselor, we have no quarrel with the Coalition. We're explorers, scientists. We seek peaceful coexistence and the opportunity to rebuild our civilization." Zaxxalian seemed to consider her words carefully. "A noble sentiment, Captain. But you must understand the complicated position your existence puts us in. The Coalition's stability is built on carefully maintained balances of power. Your advanced technology, your military capabilities, they upset that balance." As if on cue, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Ariah's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, we're detecting multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. They're charging weapons." Reyes sprang to her feet, her eyes locked on Zaxxillian. "Is this your doing, counselor?" The alien's multifaceted eyes widened in what seemed to be genuine surprise. "No, this is not coalition forces. We—" But before Zaxxillian could finish, the ship rocked violently, nearly throwing them off their feet. "We're under attack," Harper shouted, already moving towards the door. "Captain, we need to get to the bridge." Reyes nodded, her mind racing. She turned to the alien delegation. "Counselor, it seems we have a common problem. I suggest we set aside our differences for now and focus on surviving this attack. Will you join us on the bridge?" Zaxxillian exchanged glances with its companions before nodding. "Agreed, Captain. It seems the decision about your fate may be taken out of our hands if we don't act quickly." As they rushed to the bridge, Reyes's mind whirled with possibilities. Who was attacking them? Was it a coalition faction acting independently, or was there another player in this game that they weren't aware of? They burst onto the bridge to find it a hive of activity. The main view screen showed a swarm of ships, their design sleek and predatory, unleashing a barrage of energy weapons against the Polaris' shields. "Report," Reyes barked, sliding into her command chair. "Shields at 78% and holding." The tactical officer responded. "The enemy ships appear to be using some kind of phased plasma weaponry. Our defenses are higher tech, but they're throwing everything they've got at us." Reyes turned to Zaxxillian. "Counselor, do you recognize these ships?" The alien's eyes narrowed as it studied the screen. "Scavengers," it hissed. "Opportunists who prey on the fringes of coalition space. They must have detected your emergence and seen an opportunity to seize advanced technology." Another blast rocked the ship. "Shields at 65%. The tactical officer called out. "Captain, we can't take much more of this." Reyes's mind raced. They were outnumbered and in unknown territory. Fighting their way out could be suicide. But surrendering to these scavengers wasn't an option either. They needed a third option. "Mr. Chen," she called to her chief engineer. "What's the status of our phase drive?" Chen's eyes lit up with understanding. "Fully operational, Captain. But a blind jump could be dangerous. We don't know what's out there." Reyes nodded, a plan forming in her mind. "We're not going to jump. Not yet. Counselor Zaxxillian, I need coordinates for the nearest coalition outpost or friendly station." The alien hesitated for a moment before rattling off a string of numbers. Reyes relayed them to the navigation officer. "All right, people, listen up. We're going to give these scavengers a little show. Mr. Harper, prepare to bring all weapons online. Ms. Chen, I want the phase drive spooled up but don't engage. Helm, plot a course for those coordinates, but be ready to alter on my mark." As the crew scrambled to comply, Reyes turned to the alien delegation. "Counselor, I hope you're ready for a demonstration of why humans were once considered a force to be reckoned with." Zaxxillian's multifaceted eyes seemed to glimmer with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. "What do you intend, Captain?" Reyes allowed herself a small, grim smile. "We're going to remind the galaxy that humanity isn't so easily forgotten." With that, she turned back to the view screen, watching as the swarm of scavenger ships closed in for what they thought would be the kill. Little did they know, they were about to witness the resurrection of a species long thought extinct, a species that had once reached for the stars and was now ready to reclaim its place among them. The battle that followed would be talked about in hushed whispers across coalition space for years to come. It would mark the beginning of a new era, one where humanity, long forgotten, would once again shape the destiny of the galaxy. Unveiling human ingenuity. The bridge of the UES Polaris thrummed with tension as Captain Reyes stood at the helm, her eyes fixed on the swarm of scavenger ships closing in. The alien delegation watched with a mixture of curiosity and trepidation, unsure of what this supposedly extinct species was capable of. "All hands, brace for maneuvers," Reyes commanded, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around them. "Mr. Harper, on my mark, I want a full spread of quantum torpedoes. Ms. Chen, Be ready to engage the phase drive the moment I give the word. As the scavenger ships drew closer, their weapons charging for another barrage, Rise allowed herself a small, determined smile. Now, Mr. Harper. The Polaris's weapon systems roared to life, unleashing a devastating volley of quantum torpedoes. The advanced projectiles phased in and out of normal space, effortlessly bypassing the scavenger's shields before detonating with terrifying force. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Several enemy ships erupted into balls of plasma, while others spun out of control, their systems overloaded by the unexpected assault. Zaxxlian's multifaceted eyes widened in astonishment. By the cosmic veil, the alien breathed. I've never seen weapons like that before. Rice didn't have time to bask in the alien's awe. Helm. Execute evasive pattern delta. Ms. Chen. Phase drive status. Spooled and ready. Captain. Chen called back, her fingers dancing across her console. Excellent. On my mark, engage the drive for exactly 2.7 seconds, then cut it. The bridge crew exchanged confused glances, but years of training kicked in. They trusted their captain, even if they didn't understand her plan. As the remaining scavenger ships regrouped and began another attack run, Rise watched the tactical display intently. The moment the enemy formation tightened up, she gave the order. Now. The Polaris shuddered as the phase drive engaged. For a brief moment, the massive ship existed in a state between normal space and subspace. Then, just as quickly, it snapped back into reality. The result was spectacular. The Polaris had jumped a short distance, appearing in the midst of the scavenger formation. The sudden materialization of the massive warship sent the smaller vessels into chaos, several colliding with each other in their panic to avoid the sudden obstacle. All weapons, fire at will. Rise ordered. The Polaris unleashed its full arsenal. Phased plasma beams lashed out, cutting through enemy shields like they weren't there. Point defense turrets picked off smaller craft with pinpoint accuracy. Within minutes, the space around them was filled with the expanding debris fields of the scavenger fleet. As the last enemy ship fell silent, a stunned hush fell over the bridge. It was broken by slow, deliberate applause from Security Chief Dorn. Impressive, the Taurian rumbled. Most impressive indeed. Reyes turned to the alien delegation, her expression a mixture of pride and grim determination. That, Counselor Zaxxlian, is why humanity was feared, and it's why we survived. We don't just adapt to challenges, we overcome them. Zaxxlian nodded slowly, its alien features unreadable. You've certainly given us much to consider, Captain. Your technology, your tactics, they're unlike anything we've seen in centuries. Which brings us back to our original dilemma. Ambassador Cretel chittered. What do we do with you now? Before Rice could respond, Araya's voice cut in. Captain, I'm detecting a massive energy surge. Multiple ships dropping out of FTL, coalition signatures. The view screen lit up with the arrival of a coalition battle group, their ships dwarfing even the impressive Polaris. It seems, Zaxxlian said softly, that the decision may no longer be ours to make. Rice straightened her uniform, her mind racing. They had just demonstrated their military prowess, but taking on an entire coalition battle group was suicide. They needed a different approach. Open a channel, she ordered. The view screen flickered, revealing the stern visage of a coalition admiral. Its species was different from Zaxxlian's, reptilian in appearance, with gleaming scales and piercing yellow eyes. This is Admiral Shrath of the Coalition Defense Force, the alien hissed. Unknown vessel, power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. This is your only warning. Ray stepped forward, her posture radiating calm authority. Admiral Shrath, I am Captain Alina Reyes of the United Earth ship Polaris. We are not your enemies. In fact, we've just dealt with a significant threat to coalition security. She gestured to the debris field around them. Sazerath's forked tongue flicked out, tasting the air. A human ship. Impossible. Your kind has been extinct for centuries. And yet here we stand, Rise countered. Admiral, I propose a different approach. You've seen what we're capable of. Instead of conflict, I offer cooperation. The Polaris and her crew represent knowledge and technology that could greatly benefit the Coalition. The Admiral's eyes narrowed. And why should we trust you? Humans were known for their deception and aggression. Rise allowed a small smile. Because, Admiral, if we wanted conflict, we wouldn't be talking right now. We'd be fighting. And based on what you've just witnessed, I think you can appreciate why that's not a scenario either of us wants. There was a long, tense pause as Sharath considered her words. Finally, the Admiral spoke. You make a compelling argument, Captain Reyes. Perhaps there is room for negotiation. As relief washed over the bridge, Reyes knew this was just the beginning. They had earned a reprieve, but the real challenge lay ahead. How would humanity find its place in this new galactic order? What role would they play in shaping the future of a universe that had moved on without them? One thing was certain: the galaxy would never be the same again. The sleeping giant of humanity had awakened, and its impact would ripple across the stars for generations to come. Alliances and betrayals. The following weeks were a whirlwind of diplomatic negotiations, technological exchanges, and tense standoffs. The UES Polaris had been escorted to a secure Coalition space station, where representatives from various alien races flocked to witness the miraculous return of humanity. Captain Reyes found herself thrust into the role of not just a starship commander, but the de facto ambassador for her entire species. The weight of this responsibility pressed heavily on her shoulders as she navigated the complex web of galactic politics. In a vast conference chamber aboard the station, Reyes sat at a circular table surrounded by alien dignitaries. The atmosphere was charged with a mixture of curiosity, suspicion, and barely concealed fear. The reemergence of humanity poses both great opportunities and significant risks, Zaxxillian was saying, its multifaceted eyes sweeping across the assembled aliens. Their technology could revolutionize our defenses against the Void Hunters, but their very presence threatens to upset the delicate balance we've maintained for centuries. Rise leaned forward, her voice calm but firm. We understand your concerns, Counselor, but humanity has always been a force for progress. Yes, we've made mistakes in the past, but we've learned from them. We offer our knowledge and capabilities not as conquerors, but as partners. A reptilian alien, Ambassador Slith of the Draconian Imperium, hissed softly. Pretty words, Captain, but actions speak louder. How do we know you won't use your advanced technology to carve out a new human empire at our expense? Before Reyes could respond, an unexpected voice spoke up. Because they've already had the chance to do so, and they didn't. All eyes turned to Security Chief Dorn. The stocky Taurian stood, his carapace gleaming under the chamber's lights. I've seen their ship, their weapons. If the humans wanted to conquer, they could have started the moment they awoke. Instead, they offered peace. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Rise shot Dorn a grateful look, surprised by the support from the initially skeptical alien. As the debate raged on, Rise noticed Ambassador Cretel of the Vespidian Hive, leaning close to whisper something to Zaxxillian. The High Counselor's expression changed subtly, a flicker of concern crossing its alien features. Hours later, as the session adjourned for the day, Rise found herself approached by Cretel in a quiet corridor. Captain, the four-armed alien chittered softly, glancing around to ensure they weren't overheard. I must speak with you urgently. Not all within the Coalition welcome your return. There are factions that see you as a threat to be eliminated, not an ally to be embraced. Rise felt a chill run down her spine. What are you saying, Ambassador? Cretel's antennae twitched nervously. A plot is brewing. Some seek to destroy the Polaris and blame it on radical elements, thus eliminating the human problem while maintaining plausible deniability. Why are you telling me this? Rise asked, her mind racing with the implications. "Because I believe in the potential of our species working together," Cretel replied. "The Vespidian Hive values progress above all else. Your return could usher in a new era of technological advancement. I cannot stand by and watch that opportunity be destroyed by fear and short-sightedness." Reyes nodded slowly, her tactical mind already formulating plans. "Thank you, Ambassador. We'll be on our guard. But we'll need allies if we're to survive this." Cretel's mandibles clicked in what might have been a smile. "You may have more allies than you realize, Captain. Not all see humanity's return as a threat. Many of us see it as an opportunity." As Cretel scuttled away, Reyes tapped her communicator. "Harper, Chen, meet me in my quarters immediately. We have a situation." Back aboard the Polaris, Reyes briefed her senior staff on Cretel's warning. Commander Harper's face darkened with anger, while Engineer Chen looked thoughtful. "We should strike first," Harper argued. "Show them we're not to be trifled with." Reyes shook her head. "No, that's exactly what they want. If we attack, we prove their fears right. We need to be smarter than that." "What if," Chen said slowly, her eyes lighting up with an idea, "we give them what they want?" "Sort of." Both Reyes and Harper turned to her, intrigued. Chen continued, her words coming faster as her plan took shape. "We could fake a catastrophic system failure, make it look like the Polaris is about to explode. It would force our enemies to show their hand while also demonstrating our value to potential allies." Reyes nodded, a smile spreading across her face. "Brilliant, Ms. Chen. We'll need to sell it convincingly, though. And we'll need to be ready for anything once we miraculously save ourselves and the station." As they hammered out the details of their plan, Reyes couldn't help but feel a surge of pride in her crew. This was what humanity did best: adapt, innovate, and overcome. They had awoken to a galaxy that had forgotten them, but they would remind everyone why humans had once been both feared and respected. The next day, as coalition leaders gathered for another round of negotiations, alarms blared throughout the station. Panic erupted as reports spread of a critical failure aboard the Polaris, one that threatened to destroy not just the human ship but the entire station. In the ensuing chaos, Reyes and her crew put their plan into action. They would soon discover who their true allies were, who their enemies were, and just how far some would go to protect the status quo. As the false countdown to disaster ticked away, the future of humanity, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. The next few hours would determine whether the human race would find a new home among the stars or be consigned once again to the dustbin of history. Humanity's stand. Alarms blared throughout the Coalition space station, their urgent wails punctuated by the panicked shouts and hurried footsteps of various alien species. At the heart of the chaos stood the UES Polaris, its hull seemingly pulsing with unstable energy as it simulated a catastrophic system failure. Captain Alina Reyes stood on the bridge of her ship, her face a mask of grim determination, as she watched the events unfold on the main view screen. Around her, her crew worked with practiced efficiency, maintaining the illusion of a ship on the brink of destruction, while secretly preparing for any eventuality. "Status report," Reyes commanded, her eyes never leaving the screen. "Our reactor breach is progressing as planned, Captain," Engineer Chen reported, a hint of pride in her voice. "Coalition sensors are reading a massive energy buildup. They think we're about to go nova." Commander Harper chimed in from his station. "Security teams are in position, and our weapons are hot, but masked by the energy readings. We're ready for anything." Reyes nodded, feeling a mixture of tension and exhilaration. This was the moment of truth, the crucible in which the future of humanity would be forged. On the view screen, she could see the coalition ships reacting to the perceived threat. Some were moving to evacuate the station, while others took up defensive positions, but it was the actions of a select few that truly caught her attention. Zoom in on that draconian cruiser," Reyes ordered, her eyes narrowing as she studied the ship's movements. The AI complied, magnifying the image of a sleek, predatory vessel that was maneuvering closer to the Polaris, its weapon systems clearly charging. It seems Ambassador Slith wasn't as concerned about our safety as he claimed. Harper growled, his hand hovering over the weapon's controls. Before Reyes could respond, another alert sounded. "Captain, we're being hailed," the communications officer reported. "It's High Counselor Zaxxalian." On screen, Reyes commanded, straightening her uniform. Zaxxalian's alien visage appeared, its multifaceted eyes reflecting the red emergency lighting of the station. "Captain Reyes, what is happening?" "Our sensors indicate your ship is about to explode." Reyes met the alien's gaze steadily. "Counselor, we're experiencing a severe malfunction. We're doing everything we can to contain it. But if we fail, the resulting explosion could destroy this entire station." Zaxxalian's eyes widened in what seemed to be genuine concern. "How can we assist? Surely our combined technological knowledge can prevent this catastrophe." For a moment, Reyes hesitated. Was Zaxxalian truly offering help, or was this part of a more elaborate deception? But before she could respond, another voice cut in. "Belay that, Counselor," came the hissing tones of Ambassador Slith. The Draconian's reptilian face appeared in a separate communication window. "This is clearly a human trick. They seek to force our hand, to manipulate us into granting them concessions." Reyes watched as confusion and doubt warred on Zaxxalian's alien features. This was the moment she had been waiting for, the chance to see who would stand with humanity in its hour of need, and who would seek to destroy them. "Counselor, Ambassador," Reyes said, her voice calm but filled with authority. "I assure you, this is no trick. The lives of everyone on this station are at risk. We need your help to contain this breach, or we all perish together." As if to punctuate her words, the Polaris shuddered violently, the result of Chen's masterful manipulations of the ship's systems. On the station, panic reached a fever pitch as aliens of all species scrambled for escape pods. Slith's eyes narrowed to slits. "Enough of this charade," the Draconian snarled. "I will not allow humanity to blackmail its way back into galactic affairs. If your ship is truly about to explode, then we will ensure it does so far from this station." With that, the Draconian cruiser opened fire, its energy weapons lashing out at the Polaris. At the same instant, several other ships, ones Reyes recognized as belonging to the more militant factions of the coalition, also began to move into attack positions. "So that's how it is," Reyes murmured, a mix of disappointment and resolve in her voice. Then, louder, "All hands, battle stations. The game is up. Show them what humanity can really do." In an instant, the facade of a failing ship vanished. The Polaris's shields snapped to full power, easily absorbing the initial barrage from the Draconian cruiser. Its weapon systems, no longer masked by false energy readings, roared to life. "Target Slith's ship," Reyes ordered. "Disable, don't destroy. Let's show them the difference between human restraint and human power." The Polaris unleashed a precisely calculated burst of phased plasma, bypassing the Draconian cruiser's shields and surgically striking its weapon systems and engines. In seconds, the hostile ship was adrift, powerless but intact. As the other attacking ships reeled from this unexpected turn of events, a new voice joined the communications channel. "This is Security Chief Dorn of the Taurian Concordat," the gruff alien announced. "The Concordat stands with humanity. Any further aggression against the Polaris will be considered an act of war against us as well." Reyes felt a surge of gratitude towards the stocky alien. It seemed their earlier show of strength and restraint had earned them at least one powerful ally. More surprises were in store as other ships began to move to defensive positions around the Polaris. The distinctive organic vessels of the Vespidian Hive, the crystalline ships of the Luminary Collective, and even a few coalition vessels broke ranks to stand with humanity. On the main view screen, Zaxxalian's expression was one of awe and newfound respect. "Captain Reyes," the High Counselor said, its voice filled with a mix of emotions, "I believe we have much to discuss. It seems the galaxy has underestimated humanity, and perhaps that is exactly what we needed. As the immediate crisis subsided and the true allies of humanity revealed themselves, Reyes allowed herself a small smile. They had taken a massive gamble, risking everything on this elaborate ruse. But in doing so, they had reshaped the political landscape of the galaxy in a matter of hours. "Indeed we do, Counselor," Reyes replied, her voice firm but conciliatory. "But let's start with the truth, all of it. It's time for humanity to reclaim its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as partners. We have much to offer and much to learn. Together, we can forge a future brighter than any of us could achieve alone." As negotiations began anew, this time with a newfound respect for humanity's capabilities and intentions, Reyes knew that the real work was just beginning. They had earned their place at the table, but now they had to prove they deserved it. The UES Polaris, once a relic of a forgotten past, now stood as a beacon of hope for a new future, one where humanity and alien species could work together to face the challenges of the cosmos. As Captain Alina Reyes looked out at the stars, she felt a sense of purpose and destiny. The human race had slept for centuries, but now they were awake, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The adventure was just beginning, and the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter, welcoming humanity back to the cosmic stage.